Some of the biggest players in the NHL have endorsed a trade for Erik Karlsson, and those two players I'm talking about happen to be on the same team. Erik Karlsson is going to need to go to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby and Kris Letang both want him there, and if the Pittsburgh Penguins want to go on one final run, which I think now the players realize, and so does the management realize, that they have one last run with this core that they've had forever in Crosby, Letang, and Malkin. They need Erik Karlsson to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. Guys, what do you think about this potential move, and how much it will affect the Pittsburgh Penguins in theory if this does happen?
Well, I mean, there's no debate in the talent that Erik Karlsson possesses. I mean, he just put up 100 points. He just won the Norris Trophy. I mean, I love the fit in Pittsburgh, but I kind of got to question Letang endorsing it a little bit, you know? I mean, we all know he's been, like, the guy, like, the defense on defense for Pittsburgh for, a decade now, almost even longer. So, I mean, and he gets, like, power play one. He's pretty much the quarterback on the power play. So would he just kind of let Letang or let Karlsson come slide right in, take that role from him? I don't know.
Yeah, it's something.
I think I would counter that with maybe he wants that. I think that maybe he's getting down to that point in his career where they all, like, that core wants to win one more championship. And I feel like Kris Letang realizes he can't do all the things that he once did, or maybe to get that championship. And to get it, maybe he thinks that, like, Erik Karlsson would be the perfect guy to come in and take some of that load off. Maybe he doesn't have to play so much power play. Maybe he doesn't have to play so many minutes a night, because Kris Letang would be the best defenseman there, and he'd be relied on the heaviest. So maybe to take a little bit of load off of Kris Letang and put it on Erik Karlsson, a guy who just won the Norris Trophy. I don't think there's any better guy to come in there and do that, and I think Kris Letang knows that.
Yeah, Nick, you said it the best. You know, especially with Kris Letang, after coming off 2 strokes, that's heavy on the body. That's nothing that even a professional athlete can overcome super easily and just come back like nothing happened. But, you know, it's not every day that a Norris candidate, 100-point player, defenseman, in fact, comes and is available via trade or via free agency. So I think that a team like Pittsburgh in this kind of situation where they're on the brink, you know, they're on the brink right now and they don't have much time left, they need to trade for a player like Erik Karlsson. When an opportunity arises, they have to at least make, you know, an effort to talk to him and see what will be the return of what they want. And speaking of a return, we have a little rumored trade that's been coming out lately of some players that might go back and forth in a trade between San Jose and Pittsburgh. And this is it right here. Erik Karlsson is going to the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Sharks retain $4.5 million per season for the remaining 4 years of Karlsson's contract, and in exchange for Jeff Petrie, who, keep in mind, has a 15-team no-trade list and a no-move clause, making $6.25 million. You know, that's a situation that you're going to look at in this case as well. A Pittsburgh Penguins first-round protected pick, top 5 protected, Ty Smith, Samuel Poulin, and a Penguins 2025 second-round pick, which is a conditional, and it would be if the Pittsburgh Penguins win the Cup in 2024 or 2025, that becomes a first-round pick. But, guys, let me know, what do you think about this as, like, let's just say a start of a trade negotiation between these two teams?
I got 2 thoughts. First one is that Jeff Petrie deal. I don't think it's enough. You know, you're bringing in a guy like Erik Karlsson, and, you know, he's obviously the talented player that he is, but I think it starts with a guy like Owen Pickering. You know, he's their best Pittsburgh's best defensive prospect, and I think he's got to be involved in that deal. I also think kind of another aspect is the money thing. You know, and you also talked about Jeff Petrie's no move, no trade clause. That's where it gets tangly, I think, because I don't know if he fully wants to play in San Jose. I think you got to bring in a third team to kind of brokerage kind of some of that Karlsson $11.5 million that he's making now, which is absolute crazy. So I think you bring in a third team, you send Petrie to maybe that third team, you get that team to take on a certain amount of cap, and I don't know. Kyle Dubas is he knows what he's at, so I think he gets it done.
Yeah, I would say he probably gets it done, but not this way, because like you said with the cap, the third team might have to come in, because I don't think San Jose, and personally I don't blame them, would be too keen on paying Jeff Petrie essentially $10.5 million when you retain the Erik Karlsson salary there as well, because, you know, Erik Karlsson would be making $7 million for Pittsburgh, which right now the way he's playing is an absolute steal. You got to keep in mind that San Jose would be paying Jeff Petrie, I think it's the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Essentially, like I said, $10.5 million. And that's not okay. 6.2 is basically not okay for Jeff Petrie right now. I wouldn't pay for him. And I mean, we had like first class a viewing of that in his last year in Montreal, and that wasn't very good. But as for the money with this trade, I can't really say more than what you said about the third team. There really has to be, and I don't think there's a way that this gets done with just two teams.
No, for sure. I'm not sure what side this rumored trade is coming from, because you never know if San Jose might not want to actually retain that much for 4 years, but it will have to be a retention in some way, because Pittsburgh right now is 2.3, or nearly 2.3 above the cap. Now, this is available for the offseason, until, I'm not sure the date, it'll have to be fixed, but it's pretty obvious that Pittsburgh cannot just take on this contract as a whole, one singular monetary entity. It'll have to be a third team, like you guys said. There's not really any choice. But, that's a good idea with the Petrie thing, sending him to the third team. But on that subject as well, San Jose will have to get something in return. We know that Pittsburgh don't have the biggest prospect pool at all. I believe they have majority of their picks over the next 3+ seasons. I don't know exactly what ones, but I'm pretty sure they have at least their own for the next 3 years in like the top 3 rounds. So you got to assume some of those would be involved. Probably, like you said, Noah Owen, Pickering. You'd have to include them. Maybe you could include a guy like Marcus Pettersson, who has been rumored as well to be interested from the San Jose Sharks with him. He also has a 8-team no-trade list, I believe. So, I mean, they'll have to work around that as well. But it's not going to be an easy thing for the Pittsburgh Penguins to do, whether they want to do this. But a suit of Erik Karlsson would be fitting very well on this defense.
Yeah, I wouldn't be very keen on giving up left-handed defenseman if I'm Pittsburgh, considering the next one up is Pierre-Olivier Joseph. I don't really think that he's ready for a top 4 role. I wouldn't definitely just throw him in there like that. I expect like going on a last run with a team, you don't want to just throw someone in there and bet on them kind of thing if they haven't proved it yet. Yeah. So I wouldn't be too keen on giving him up. I would just sweeten the Jeff Petrie deal with whatever you can do for the next 3 seasons. If you can get Erik Karlsson, you're going to be competing, especially with this the core that they have in Pittsburgh. So, I mean, I would be thrown in the house to try to get this done.
Yeah, like if you're Pittsburgh, to get Erik Karlsson, you're going to have to be willing to give up some big names, some big picks. This Erik Karlsson will not come lightly to any team at all. It don't matter who you are. You're not going to be paying lightly for Erik Karlsson. He's a player that don't come every day, and that you're going to have to put everything towards him.
And I also think they kind of have the best guy for that in Kyle Dubas. Say what you want about his deals over there in Toronto, but he always seemed to be getting something done, and he's always been getting stuff done with the cap and being close to the cap, like by the skin of his teeth. So I think if I had to choose anybody to do this deal, I think honestly I'd choose Kyle Dubas.
Yeah, like you said, say what you want about the Leaf stuff, but in pretty much his whole tenure with the Toronto Maple Leafs, didn't have much to work with cap-wise. He's always very tight against it, but he made it work. You can arguably say he did the most he could for this Toronto Maple Leafs team to get them to a Stanley Cup Finals. They couldn't do it, but I got to say, he did make that team very, very well over the past few years. Maybe could have done a few things differently, but that's every GM. Nobody's perfect on like a hockey market. You could say some guys like Julien Brisebois, nobody's doing. Now it's a bit iffy, but there's always some room for improvement from everybody. But I think that you're right, Kyle Dubas is the right guy to make this trade if anybody were to. He also wants to make a splash in his first time in Pittsburgh. Get the fans on his side, get him aboard, get him agreeing with what he's going to do. And I think that Erik Karlsson would be the right guy to do this. And they also need Erik Karlsson if they want to go on another Stanley Cup final run. The final one of, maybe Crosby, Malkin, and Letang's career. You don't know how much longer these guys have. We know it's not going to be too much longer. They're getting up there in age. Sid the Kid ain't really a kid anymore. But they want one more. I think everybody would be willing to see one more from all these guys.
I hope he ends up in Pittsburgh.
It's a part of our childhood watching Sidney Crosby in the playoffs and the deep rounds. So I would like to see it. I don't know about you guys, but it certainly would be something nice to see.
100%.
If it's not the Minnesota Wild or for you guys, the Montreal Canadiens, Pittsburgh will do it. That's good enough. But that's all we have for this video. We'll be keeping tabs on this Erik Karlsson ordeal over the next few days, maybe the next few weeks as well, depending on what happens. Any news, we're going to have it here, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see that, and also make sure to like the video if you did enjoy and you want to see more. Hope you had a great day. Thank you for watching, and see you later.